It's Anthropology, late at night. With your host, Johnny Soupbone. Tonight's topic, primates.
Good evening and welcome to the show. Our guests tonight are all experts on primates and primate tendencies. If you're like me, you're probably wondering what a primate is. You probably have some idea that it's an animal that lives in the zoo. I was quite surprised to learn that not all primates live in the zoo. Some of them are right here in this room. But it's true. And here to tell us about the primates in this room is our first guest, world-famous primatologist Bayrut Galdkes. Welcome to the show. Now, you've worked in Indonesia with orangutans.
Yes, that's right, Johnny. I've studied the orangutan in its native habitat since I was a graduate student.
Orangutans are endangered, aren't they?
True. All of the great apes are endangered.
What do you mean by a great ape? Are some better than others?
Great ape simply designates the larger of the apes, gorillas, orangutans, and chimpanzees. Some people put humans in this category too.
Humans are apes?
Yes. Phylogenetically, we are more closely related to chimpanzees and gorillas than we are to any of the other primates.
That's pretty amazing. How do we know? Is it based on similarities in appearance?
Originally it was. Recent advances in molecular anthropology have allowed us to compare the genomes of chimps and humans, for example. Our DNA is very similar to that of the chimps, and indeed, they are our closest relative in the animal kingdom. The genomes of gorillas and humans are 98% similar.
That does explain the way some people drive on the freeway. This is just amazing. Bayrut, when you studied orangutans, your advisor was Louis Leakey, wasn't it?
Yes, that's right.
Our next guest was also a student of Louis Leakey. Please welcome Diane Fossey. Diane, you studied gorillas in Africa. Was it scary to be around them?
Not really, Johnny. I'm more fearful here in New York than I am in the jungle.
I can't say I blame you. But you were working in Rwanda. How did the civil war there affect your work?
Poaching was a bigger problem when I studied the highland gorillas. The Civil War didn't start until the 1990s, after I was assassinated in 1985.
Yes, we do frequently have dead anthropologists on the show. People were poaching gorillas?
Yes. They were stealing infant gorillas to sell to private collectors and zoos. And there are the trophy hunters.
And gorillas are endangered.
Yes. There are fewer than 720 mountain gorillas left in the wild. There are about 3,000 eastern lowland and 100,000 western lowland gorillas.
What was one of the most impressive things you learned about gorillas through your research?
Just how gentle they are, Johnny. They've been portrayed in movies as a scary, violent beast, but they are only violent when provoked.
None of this King Kong stuff.
Indeed. Gorillas are not monsters but social beings full of curiosity and affection.
Very much like humans.
When humans are at their best, yes.
Our next guest is famous for her work with chimpanzees and animal conservation. Please welcome Jane Goodall. Dr. Goodall, it's so good to have you on the show.
Thanks, Johnny. It's great to be here with my 3 colleagues.
You worked in Africa too, in Tanzania, right?
Yes. I studied the chimpanzees in Gombe beginning in 1960.
What was the most amazing thing you learned about chimps?
In November of 1960, I observed a male chimp stripping the leaves off a twig and using it as a tool to get termites out of a termite mound. Before this time, anthropologists believed that making and using tools was one of the most important things that separated humans from the other apes. When Louis Leakey heard that chimps were using tools, he said, "Now we must redefine man, or accept chimpanzees as humans." I also observed chimps hunting and eating small animals. This was an important discovery because it had been believed that chimps were vegetarians.
Sounds like chimps are a lot like us.
Perhaps more than we might have liked. Chimps have a dark side too. I observed them killing and eating infant chimps. Many chimps were killed in a 4-year war between two troops.
Wow, I thought they were peaceful.
Chimps may be capable of cruelty, but they also demonstrate cooperation, affection, happiness, and sometimes even seem to help each other just for the sake of helping.
We've been talking about orangutans, gorillas and chimpanzees. They all have something in common.
They are all great apes.
They are all endangered.
And they are all primates.
How do you know an animal is a primate?
Primates are descended from a common ancestor, probably Purgatorius, who lived about 64 million years ago.
How do you know if something living today is a descendant?
Primates have several tendencies in common, which they've inherited from a common ancestor. Not all primates will have all of these characteristics.
Why don't they all have the same characteristics?
They're varied because they've adapted to diverse ecological niches.
I see. Ecological niches are defined by climate, terrain, vegetation, and so on.
True. This allowed many different primate species to evolve without competing with each other.
What are these tendencies?
One is opposable thumbs. These evolved as grasping hands during life in the trees. Most primates can touch their other fingers to their thumbs.
Another is anatomical changes that reflect the shift in emphasis from smell to sight. Primates get information about their world through sight, rather than how things smell.
The sense of touch shifted from the tip of the nose to the tips of the fingers. In primates, the main tactile organ is the fingertips.
The primate brain is also more complex than the brains of other animals. The cortex is more fully developed, giving primates the capacity to think and make decisions.
Primates also have fewer offspring which they spend more time taking care of. Typically, a female will have only one baby, but she will raise for a few years. Female gorillas are pregnant for about 8.5 months and have about 3 babies in their lifetime. Baby gorillas are weaned at about 3 years old.
Primates are also social creatures. They have a complex social organization, and the group provides protection for mothers with infants.
Primate tendencies are grasping hands, shift in emphasis from smell to sight, nose to hand, brain complexity, parental investment, and sociality.
This has been very exciting. Ruud Goldkes, Diane Fossey, and Jane Goodall, thank you for coming.
It has been our pleasure, Johnny.
This has been Anthropology, late at night, with your host Johnny Soupbone. Join us again next time for more interesting discussion of anthropology.